What is the secret to successfully and happily working for decades in emergency medicine? Or let's dial back the ambition. How about 1 decade or 5 years or 3 years? The why of what you do, the pillars of your career, your tools for resilience, they're going to be unique to each of you, but I wonder if there's a common thread or quality present in those who have been in EM for the duration. And over the past many years, I've been studying this. I've been interviewing these docs, sometimes even working with them, trying to divine their secret sauce. And what do you think it is? The trait of the PGY30s and 40s. What I found was surprising, yet not surprising. The universal trait of these docs is curiosity. Even after all these years, hundreds of thousands of patients navigating the vicissitudes of EM, the physical, emotional, spiritual demands, they have fresh eyes. They are still hungry to learn. Despite their encyclopedic knowledge of the specialty and volumes of experience, they're still students, insatiably curious. If you want to talk about resilience, this is a bedrock of resilience and a continuing source of joy. Now, you might say, I get it, curiosity. But surely these people were born this way. Before their first APGAR, it was clear that they were curious. Maybe so. But curiosity is something that can be built up and a habit that you can feel even when it starts to wane. Well, you might ask, what is the magic trick to make curiosity appear? Well, more than a magic trick, I'd think of it like caring for a plant. You water it, you give it sunshine, it flourishes. You neglect it, it doesn't. When you are in residency, this is baked in, right? You know it, you live it. The excitement, the learning, you go to each shift, everything's new, and also there's a community built around learning. You are in a playground of curiosity. When you leave that place of learning, you move from a playground to something else. I don't know what the metaphor is, but the focus in most shops is certainly not on learning and curiosity. The focus is on 100 other things that are not that, not about learning and growth. Take a minute. Think about what are those things that your ED or your hospital values and makes sure you do. What are those things? For me, it was satisfaction, not my own, but the patient's, and lots of metrics. And I recently heard this from an ER doc who's about 5 years out of residency and said, I used to be so excited to learn. Now, I feel like I'm making widgets. Wow. I mean, that's such a powerful statement, making widgets, punching the clock, mining the salt. So how is curiosity nurtured and watered and maintained? With intent. Personally, when I first burnt out, or I should say my first burnout, I was overwhelmed by the pace of community EM. I'd lost my learning mojo. Mojo was gone. So to get back into that soup of curiosity, my wife, also an EM doc, recommended we go to a conference and just see what happened. And it was like magic. I came back from that conference and mojo was recharged, curiosity was restoked. And then about 5 years later, the second time I burnt, my way out again was curiosity. So how can I continue to learn here? I started making protocols for my department and my region, deep diving on atrial fibrillation, PE and pregnancy, starting an ultrasound program. Mojo again, recharged, curiosity resparked. The third time I burn out. That's how ERCast was born. That's how I wound up on this stage. For me, curiosity was the fuel that got me to PGY30. So, what are the ways to go about structuring the student mindset, staying curious? If this concept resonates with you, I want to put forward 5 paths or actions to be curious, to stay curious, to recharge curiosity. And really, it's a matter of structuring it rather than just relying on curiosity having to arise de novo. So the first is 1%. 1%. What is something you can do better or know better by 1% today? Now, 1% is a marginal gain. It's tiny. But the constant accumulation of marginal gains can give you sunlight and water. Teach. Sounds simple, right? But I'm not in a place where we have students or residents. That's fine. Teach your patients, your staff, your partners, yourself. Teach. Did you just learn something, listening to an exciting medical podcast on your way into work? Yeah, and you're super stoked when you walk in. Teach that to someone. Pay it forward. Go big. What is one thing that your ED can do better? If you work in the community, even a little effort will be met with open arms. Like, big hug. Reach high. Challenge yourself to a stretch goal each year. One thing, one big rock, one stretch goal. Not too easy, right? Not something, I can do this in a week. It's got to push you. Thinking about it makes your hands sweat a little, but it's doable. And lastly, my favorite of all of these is be a yetter. Put that word in your learning vocabulary. Yet. I'm not good at central lines is really different than I'm not good at central lines yet. I'm not good at EKGs, or I haven't mastered EKGs yet. I don't know X yet. And those are just 5 ways to structure and be intentional about curiosity. And what works for you, I might not even have said it. That's fine. Go find it. You can always add to who you are as a clinician because you're never finished learning. And there's a great quote by artist Fernando Botero. You can look up his somewhat odd paintings after this. But his quote, I think, speaks so well to emergency clinicians in this process of learning and being curious in emergency medicine. He said, "I love art so much because of curiosity. At the start of a painting, I know 10% of what that painting will be. And then I have to improvise the whole thing." Could that not be about an ED shift? Or like just EM? Every day at work is improv. And that quote could just as easily be, "I love emergency medicine so much because of curiosity. At the start of a shift, I know 10% of what it will be. And then I have to improvise the whole thing." So stay curious, my friends. It'll never let you down. And welcome to Essentials of Emergency Medicine.